Well, welcome everyone, and good afternoon. We are presenting a webcast today on search engine optimization, and basically how do you knock out the competition if you do it correctly. So we are excited to be here with you today, but before we start this presentation, a couple of housekeeping notes. Number one is we are recording this webinar. So we do not send out the PowerPoint itself, but we do make this recording available to you. So if you'll go to the Core Cubed website on our events page, you can view any of our past webinars. You just have to sign in, and you may view whatever you want to view whenever you want to do it. So if you have other people that you'd like to share this with at the end of the presentation, please feel free to do so. My name is Merrily Orsini, and I am the President and CEO of Core Cubed, and Core Cubed is an aging care marketing company, and we have been working in the search engine optimization website design space for a long time. Gosh, probably 18 years, I believe, coming up on 18 years. So we are very happy to have you with us today. We do have two other people with us on this presentation. We have my managing directors. One is Amy Selle, and Amy has also a good, strong background in aging care and marketing and branding, and she brings such a wealth of knowledge and experience to Core Cubed and to our clients. So Amy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And Marissa Snook, our most program administrator, who is also a co-managing director, and she really is involved, as is Amy, intricately on a daily basis with search engine optimization and how home care businesses specifically, but also some of our aging care clients actually put SEO to practice. And so you really do have a treat here because you have an amazing wealth of knowledge with us. I forgot to mention that I have everyone on mute. So you are on mute, so there are no distractions, background distractions, and but if you have a question, we'd love to get a question, love to answer your questions if we, at the end of the presentation. If we don't have time, we'll answer them offline, but hopefully we'll have time to answer them online. And we did review your questions you submitted ahead of time, so we will also try to cover those as well. Today we are really going to focus on search engine optimization, what is called SEO in the industry, and we have lots of information for you, and this is pretty intense and full of information, so get ready. You may want to watch this one twice, but I think
put your thinking caps on.
That's right, and focus your attention because this is actually pretty serious stuff. So the main thing that you need to understand is that search engine optimization is really a commitment. It is a long-term commitment. It is not something that you take lightly or do lightly or should put on the back burner for your marketing efforts. Now, when we said how would we were thinking in terms of knocking out the competition, so what is it, what's our definition of knocking out the competition? And that's going to be, if you're ranked #1 on a search page, the key here is for those terms that your potential customers are using to search for care. So that's really where you want to be. And you also want your website to continue to generate inquiries for those searching for care. So that's really what you're reaching for when you are trying to get ranked in search engines. So that is our definition.
Another thing that is becoming increasingly important with SEO is driving the right caregivers to your site as well. So just wanted to throw that in the ring too.
Yes, it is people finding your site and then being engaged in it and then staying there and interacting with you. So that is the whole purpose of this. And how do you do it? It's not something that happens easily. It's not something that happens by chance. It really is something that you have to plan for, and you have to understand what you're trying to plan for and how you do it. And then you also have to measure for results. And of course, my best measurement for result is your business growing? Are you getting inquiries? And you know, sometimes SEO, people will call you if you have a good SEO in place, and you might not be able to identify that they actually came from the website. But if you look at your overall statistics and is your business growing, are you getting more inquiries, are more people calling, are more people interacting with you, then those are some of the measurements, but that's your measurement for success. And then it is something that you have to continue to change, because we'll explain it a little later why you have to change, because it changes all the time. But you really do want ongoing, long-lasting results. And so how you set it up in January may not be the best way to handle it in April or July or December, because the internet is a moving target medium, and so things do change over time. So as a search engine optimization client, and before I go into this, let me just say one thing. We are not talking about pay per click. We are not talking about paying for hits. We are talking about creating a system. We call it a digital ecosystem, but creating a system that actually does have your website rank higher on search engines and in searches over time. So that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about pay-per-click, and we're not going to talk about pay-per-click today. So this is really what's called organic search engine optimization, and it means it is organic because it's built into the system, and organic because it feeds off of each other, and it is a bit of an ecosystem. So there are some things that you really do need to know, whether you're doing SEO yourself or whether you're having someone else do it. But the rankings are really built on algorithms, and Google is the one that is the biggest search engine, and is, if you rank well on Google, you're going to rank well on the other one. So Google's algorithms are what the industry uses as a standard, and I will tell you that they change regularly. Sometimes they're big changes, sometimes they're little changes, but it is what Google is trying to do is to create a search system that delivers accurate results. And so that's what they're trying to do. So they are continuing to look at how people are interacting on the web and the information people are putting up on the web, and it's a very complicated and detailed process. The other thing is that increased ranking is really a slow process over time. You might be able to get a #1 ranking on a page pretty quickly if it's a search term that no one's searching for, and if you do some things that will create an interest so Google does rank you. But that's not really what you're looking for. You're really looking to rank, as I said earlier, on terms that people are actually searching for when they're searching for care. I think that the other important thing is that it's really not about the number of site visitors, because there are a lot of ways that your site visitor number can go up, some of them not positive. In the last, gosh, I guess it a year, 2 years, we've had an influx of site visitors from countries outside of the United States who are trying to hack into sites. So you might get an increase of 10,000 site visitors to your site and think, wow, man, I've hit the jackpot here. But if you look at them and they're all from Uzbekistan, then probably not the visitors that you're interested in getting to your site. It's really the quality. You want the people who come to your site to convert. You want them to request services. You want them to call your agency. If it's caregivers, you want them to be enticed enough about you and your business to complete applications and to grow your caregiver pool. So when you're trying to measure your results, it's not as easy as it might first seem. The other thing is that given this digital ecosystem I talked about, And given the fact that aging care is becoming more and more competitive, having a good website is really just a beginning. The design of the website and the presence of the website, it has to be dynamic, and it's got to be an integral part of that digital ecosystem. And there's other parts of the ecosystem besides your website. There's social media and there's blogging, and those are very integral parts of this system. The other thing that's becoming, there's lots of things that change and become more and more important, but the other thing is how the public views your service and the reviews you have gotten and what your online reputation is. Those things are also really integral parts of the digital ecosystem as well.
I think what Merrily said earlier really pertains to this slide, that Google is focusing on delivering the best search experience for their users as possible, which means they're looking at who's interacting with your website, your social media, who's leaving good, positive reviews. They want to deliver the best results, the best website, the best information, the most shared content. So these are all ways that you can send those signals to Google that, hey, we are getting shared. We do have positive reviews. We do have a great website.
Yeah, and I think what I like about how we're describing this is think about the word ecosystem. It's really about how things are working together and benefiting each other. And when we talk about a digital ecosystem, there are a lot of different things that contribute to the ranking of your website that are not directly on your website or part of your website. So social media is part of that. Online reviews are part of that. Any email marketing that you do can be part of that. So we really want to start to get you to think about how it all works together.
And how important it is for it all to work together and to be cohesive and to have good messages. And I will show some statistics in a minute that will just knock your socks off. But the number one most important thing of the digital ecosystem is going to be your website. Because obviously, if you don't have a website, you're missing out on the capacity to be able to use your website to get applications, to accept inquiries, to give information about what the services you're providing, and to show how people can solve their problems. So these are just a list of things that are basic for your website. I think the healthy website, and the healthy website will go with the last point too. It's got to be a safe website. I mentioned all of the people trying to hack into websites now, and so you really do have to maintain that website, keep it healthy, update it as often as possible, and make certain that as the hacking changes that you are keeping up with the technology to try to keep those hackers out. So that's the healthy website component. The other thing is, we're not going to talk about mobile right now, but mobile is becoming such an amazing component of people's capacity to search, and so you really do at this day and age have to have a responsive design, a website that is responsive to the size of the screen it's being viewed on. So that is an imperative. We used to say that it was preferred, but now it's absolutely imperative. And some of these other things, this is, healthy text versus code ratio. It just means that you really do need to focus on having a site that's easy for the search engines to parse through, to come through and look at. And some of the website design tools that are the do-it-yourself tools have a huge code ratio built into their process, because they're trying to make it easy for you to create something. So just be aware of that. The technical errors are another thing. That would mean bad links or something that doesn't work. So again, that's not only something that Google finds offensive, but that's a user experience issue as well. And this page speed load, that is becoming more and more important, because in this day and age of not wanting to wait more than a couple of seconds to get something. If that page doesn't come up pretty quickly, then your viewer may just go somewhere else.
And be aware that your mobile page speed may be slower than your PC loading speed. So it's a good thing to be aware of both.
Well, and the user experience is something that cannot ever be forgotten. That even though we're talking about ranking for search engines, number one, your website has to rank for people too. Now, granted, they got to find it, but when they get there, it has to be user-friendly, and the user experience has to be a good one. And the other part of that user experience is that there should be some workflows in your website that really help people get where they need to go through your sales funnel or even through the information. So when someone comes in to your website and they have a specific need, you want them, once they identify that need, you want to think through what is it they need to know to help them make the decision and move them along, so that they will continue the little journey, and that they'll ask you for help or call you or download the information or read a blog or do something that you're trying to get them to do, so that they will engage more with you and with your website. So, what do you need to do to make your website SEO friendly? Marissa, what's the list? 150 or 200 things that you're supposed to do?
Well, Google has their published algorithms, and then there are the unpublished ones that people speculate about. It sort of goes on and on and on. But there are the bullet points here hit some of the overarching things that you need to do to make your website SEO friendly.
Yeah, so I think maybe it's just helpful to point out that, again, that Google's job is to show consumers the best websites. That's different than the best looking websites. They want to show consumers the websites that provide the most helpful information to consumers, that they can tell consumers are interacting with, that operate efficiently. So again, back to load speed, sites that run quickly, and sites that are confirmed by other sites as being authoritative and relevant to the industry. So they're looking at those things because their job is only to show consumers the best sites out there, so that consumers can make great decisions about what services they're going to buy.
And these bullet points here are incredibly important, and each one of these bullet points actually could be expanded into a whole webinar, because each one of them is about things that don't come naturally, that have to be researched to produce. For instance, keywords. Marissa, you said something the other day that I thought was funny, that someone said, well, you've been doing home care SEO for 18 years now, don't you know the keywords that we should use? And the answer is, yes, we do know the keywords that you should use, but the keywords you should use vary depending on where you are, if you're a single site or a franchise site, if what part of the country you're in, what your competition is doing. There's a lot of research that goes into keywords, and those also change. Like for instance, they changed during the summer and over the holidays. So it isn't a static thing. I think that's the one thing about search engine optimization. It's not static. The other thing is metadata. There's all kinds of ways to use metadata, which is not data that you see when you look at the website with your consumer eye or consumer sees. Metadata is what's written into the source code of the website, but it's incredibly important to understand how to use it, when to use it, make sure you're not overusing it, those kinds of things. And backlinks.
I like to think of metadata as sort of, I don't know if any of you have watched the show on Netflix called Stranger Things, but basically there's your regular world, which is sort of like your website that everybody sees, and then the underworld or the other world, which is underneath the website. It's the part that we don't see but the bots see, and that's the metadata. That's how they're interpreting your website. So both are equally important.
Backlinks is another thing. Backlinks can be a gold mine or it can be a minefield. So backlinks they're incredibly important, but there are services out there that try to get backlinks, and there's link rings that try to manipulate the backlinks. So there's different things that you have to, it's so complicated in terms of what is appropriate and not appropriate, and knowing who to trust that's going to do the right thing. I think it's a hard thing in this industry because there's a lot of people out there trying to sell services that relate to SEO, but for home care and aging care services specifically, there are ways to provide safe backlinks and safe keyword optimization and safe metadata that simply works, and that falls within Google's what we call white hat tactics. When we talk about Google and quality, they're looking for authority, and we'll explain that further in a minute, because they're looking to make certain that, how do you have authority? People come to you for things. So if they see people coming to your website, interacting with you on social media, that's sort of authority. Relevancy would be information that you post that is relevant to what you're trying to sell. And in aging care services, we know that information that relates to the problems people are having and how they solve those problems is very, very relevant to the audience that is searching for care. And the other thing I mentioned is mobile access and then speed. So so there are some things that you sort of have to do as a baseline, or have to understand as a baseline, in order to have good SEO. Now we're missing the middle of the country here, but this is I'll bring it up later. These are two important facts that you really do need to understand, and this is why search engine optimization is so important. You have a huge number of people in the United States. I mean, look at that. Almost 90% of Americans are now online, and 200 million of them does that seem like a big number to you, are using smartphones?
I think it might be globally. That last statistic, I think, is globally.
Well, it would be. It would fit, because there's 300 million Americans, so actually 200 million would be appropriate, probably, if you're looking at almost 90% using smartphones. So, but the other thing that's important here is that 29% of the people who come to your website are basically going to leave immediately if they can't find the information. And 40% of those people are unlikely to come back if they don't find the information. So make the reverse of that and know that you can get, 71% of the people will stay on your site if you've got a good user experience, you've got the information they're looking for, and then 60% will also come back and revisit. So those are another couple of reasons why you really do need to focus on having good SEO. Now, for authority and relevancy, Amy, do you want to talk about this a bit?
Sure. Yeah, I think what is important for relevancy is that you are putting information on your site that is designed to really educate and help your customers. And in aging care, there's quite a lot of topics that we can educate consumers about. And a blog is one way to do that. So is an email newsletter, and so is social media. Really giving consumers tips about how to help their aging parents, how to deal with different chronic conditions. Those kinds of things really make your site more relevant to your industry, more so than sites that don't do those things. It shows that you're trying to interact with consumers and you're trying to help them, not just sell to them.
And again, some of these other points get into understanding the industry, understanding who your target is, but some of the other things that people forget about is what areas do you serve? I mean, have you ever gone online and you're searching for something and then you realize that the business that you found is not even anywhere in your geographic area? So you really do have to think about the fact that the web is a global medium, and when you are designing and putting information up, you got to be very specific about what it is you do and what you know, where do you serve and how do you serve that and what kinds of customers are you looking for. And so it's a pretty complicated process, but again, Google's looking to you as an authority and for your website to have that relevant information on it. Marissa mentioned some of these things earlier. Marissa, do you want to go back and talk more about this authority?
Sure. Authority, it's how Google is going to, I mean, it's basically them saying, all right, your website is fantastic. Backlinks are one of the most heavily rated things going towards your authority. If you have a lot of sites that are connecting to you, and these sites are somehow related to your industry, and those are sites that are also high quality, that is going to boost your authority ranking, because Google is seeing that all of these other high quality sites that relate to your service think that you have a good enough site that they will link back to you. So it makes sense. Testimonials is another way that they will show that you are a good service, because obviously if other people on the web are saying you have a good service, then that must mean that you do. So they're going to bump you up for those. And the more people who are sharing your social media, the more people who are sharing your blog content, again, those are, you know, when they share, it's creating a backlink to your website. It just shows Google that these people on the web find your information relevant, useful, helpful, and so they're going to bump up your rankings and hence your authority.
This is the middle of the country, but I saved this because I wanted you to realize that the #1 web search right now is for health information. So people are, I mean, more than the Olympics, more than politics, right now the #1 web search is health information. And so people are going to the internet to find information about their health and about care. So it's a wonderful opportunity for your agency to be able to provide information that will satisfy people's needs when they come to your site. So let's move a little bit into social signals, because there has been a lot of talk in the industry over the last 5 or 6 years about, is social media worth doing? And I'm here to say that social media is so worth doing, and actually I would say it's imperative right now, because the social signals are an integral component, and Amy, I believe you were the one that said earlier, of that digital ecosystem. It's a very integral component of that digital ecosystem. So, and every single time someone interacts with you in some way, then that is basically sending a signal to the search engine. So obviously the more signals that get sent to the search engine, the better the search engine is going to think that you're bringing authority to the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a simple thing. When you see that a company is getting a lot of likes and comments and shares and new followers, it makes sense that they are an engaging company. They're doing something that their audience likes. So they're sharing helpful information with their audience. They're, or pointing toward other helpful information out on the internet, and that's important. to the search engines, because that's how they're judging that you're a quality company.
And I want to take a minute and just mention relevancy in here too, because just being active is not the same as being relevant, because people will share and people will follow you if you are true to what you're trying to true to what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to talk about, which really has to do with solving some problems of aging care or issues that are important to people who might be searching for care. So it really has to be a focused social signal. It can't just be something frivolous or something that doesn't relate to what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's also important that you're building pathways in your social posts. So, you know, you can get likes for a post that does not contain any links back to your website. You know, and that's okay. You're going to have some posts like that, but you also want to be posting, making posts that lead the consumer down a path back to your website, and in doing so you get an extra extra power out of that post. So if someone likes it but they also then can follow it back to your website, you're getting the social signal, but you're also getting a website visitor. So you want to make sure you have the right mix of relevant posts on your social channels.
And again, this bottom bullet here, the search engine is always looking for quality. That is really the key to search engine optimization and ranking, is that you want to be providing a quality service, you want to have everything you do exude quality, and you want everything to be relevant and to continue to build on you as an authority. This is just some more information about social signals, because again, it's being involved in social media is an art and a science, and you really are trying to figure out how do you communicate with your public in a way that they want to engage back with you and share what you're doing. So, and it all works together in that ecosystem so that it drives back to your website. So here's just some ideas about sharing from your website. If you can add sharing buttons on different things that you do, and you can try to get your information shared, but there is share-worthy information, and we're going to talk about what is that share-worthy information, because that is the real key here, is that you are creating information that other people would like to share and that other people are going to find valuable. And here's a list. Marissa, Amy, either one of you want to talk about what should be on this list and what is not share-worthy?
Well, I think share-worthy content is built around what's happening with your agency and what's happening with the people in your agency. And so these things that we have listed here are appropriate for sharing. Events that you're engaging with out in the community or hosting, that your company is hosting, blogs that you have on your site, any kind of news about the company, awards that you've won, accreditations that you've received, videos that you've created, articles that have been written, promotions within the company, staff achievements. It's just stories about your company and your brand and how they're making a difference in people's lives.
I would love for someone to talk about not share-worthy content, because we certainly see a lot of that out there.
I can talk about that a little bit. I think a lot of times with the web, people think, oh, well, Google says I have to add fresh content, so then they just start throwing up content, and it doesn't necessarily hit the audience. It's not something that your audience really wants to see. A good example may be recipes. If you're just throwing great recipes on there, well, they can go to the gazillion cooking websites if they want a recipe. Tie that recipe into heart health or caring for your heart or aging care and heart health, and then add the recipe. That would make it share-worthy content. Selling your services, blatantly selling your services, that's not share-worthy content. If they want to read about your services, they can go to your website. You can include a link to your website for them to learn more about those services, but the share-worthy content is going to be an educational tip. And then you can say, learn more here, and link to your services that way.
Now, we don't have job openings on this list, and that's not because we don't think that having open positions is not share-worthy content. I think in that regard it's more about how you share that content, and I've seen agencies where that's all they share, and not only is that all they share, but they do it in a way that is very succinct and unfriendly. So PM shift, call us, it's just very brief. If you're going to post position openings, you don't want that to be all that you post, because then it makes it look like you have a revolving door at your agency. And secondly, if you're going to post those things, make sure you talk about, what a great agency you are to work with, or what is the benefit that people will get out of working for your agency. Not just posting, the basics that you have an opening, it's for such and such, and who they should call.
You can also, and this is Amy's area of expertise, but show your brand personality some, and hopefully you have a brand personality. If not, we can talk about that later, but not today. But there's all different kinds of ways you can show your brand personality, and it really is keeping that same thought of what is quality and how am I tying this back into helping someone who is searching for aging care or searching for home care.
And remembering that social media is just that. It's social, and it's an opportunity for people to get to know your agency better. And we all prefer to do business with people that we know. We like a little peek behind the scenes. We like to know that the people that we're working with are fun people, and just to know them a little bit better. It builds trust in your agency to kind of see some of that behind the scenes goings on.
The other thing that is important to understand about the internet is it really is a niche market medium. If you're searching for home care, you really don't want to be a jack of all trades, because you're going to have to hone in on your keywords, and you're going to have to hone in on what you're going to focus on. So basically you have to strategically plan what are you going to be offering and selling on the internet. And it does help the search engines if you have a focus so that everything relates. What they don't like is when you have a whole lot of different things that don't relate. I wanted to note here that this keyword stuffing is something, I think I have it in another place here, but effective keywords are really a result of research, and they do change. So, and there used to be able to use keywords in a different way than we use them now. And now you're penalized for keyword stuffing, whereas before it used to be something that Google liked.
A good example of bad keyword usage is putting your one of your service locations at the top of a blog and nowhere else within the blog, or at the bottom of the blog and nowhere else within the blog.
Yeah, there are parameters that we work with for where to place a keyword on a page and how many times to place it on the page. And how many other keywords you can place on that page as well. And just to go back to the research, I feel like we might be repeating ourselves a little bit in this webcast. I have a teenager, so I repeat myself a lot. But it really is a result of research, coming up with your keyword list. It's based on the market that you're in, how many competitors are in your market, and the part of the country that you're in. We work with clients who are all over the country, and we do see differences in markets. And so it's not a guessing game. You can't just guess what your keywords are and start putting them into your content. You really need somebody who knows how to do that research for you.
And you also need to understand how you interrelate all of the things that you're doing, because Google really does love the fresh content, but it really has to be share-worthy content. Your site has to be quality, and you have to be engaging your customers, and there is a science to do that, so that you are using the tools that Google has available to you, like linking back and forth and pathways. And so if you over time you can see what works and do more of that, but it isn't something that just that comes naturally.
And keep in mind that what Google views as quality may be different than what you are thinking of as quality, because you may have a very well-written blog or article on your website, but if it isn't something that connects with your audience, if people aren't viewing it or sharing it, Google's not going to necessarily see that as quality, because nobody else thinks that it's quality.
And you do have to have a site that changes, so your content has to continue to change on your site, and that alerts the search engines to crawl the site. I will tell you, one of the fascinating things to me that we do is to do heat maps of sites, so you can actually see where the visitors are coming in the site. And we have moved things around before based on the heat map and gotten different results. So, but moving those things around also constitutes a change. So you're continuing to do things to the site to make it better, to make it more quality, and you get rewarded by Google for that. To talk a little bit about social media specifically, the statistics show that the top social media posts are Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, I believe. But for home care, it's different. For home care, the best choices for social media are Facebook is an imperative. Pinterest is really a good social media draw for home care, and then LinkedIn.
Especially if you can put those Pinterest links linking back to information on your website.
Yes. Now, that's not to say that videos on YouTube are not good, but if you really want to, and this again we're talking about 2016 and what's working right now, but Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn are really the best social media choices for home care.
And Google and YouTube, Google Plus and YouTube are important in that they do send social signals. They are both owned by Google, of course. Google owns Google Plus, but they also own YouTube. And so anything that you're going to do to use a Google service is going to be a thumbs up in their department.
Yes, and I didn't mean to slight Google. I'm just, yes, but for ongoing, this is what Google loves the most, themselves first.
And I think everyone knows that anything you post on Google Plus is not really shared as much as things on Facebook, but it's still relevant because Google is seeing that you're using their service.
I'm just going to skip here, just mention here for a minute that some people do want to skip that first part, that foundation planning and strategy part, or they want to skip that and choose some cheapo kind of a service because they get emails every day that they're going to, get you ranked on the #1 page. And I just want to caution you against that, because you will not get long-term results if you don't do the work to get there. And the dangers of using cheap, down and dirty services for backlinks or for other kinds of things could have a disastrous effect. If you get blacklisted by Google, it's hard to get unblacklisted. So that is one of the things you do not want to have happen. So it's getting more and more dangerous to use services that are not really good services that provide SEO.
Two very easy ways to get blacklisted: very bad backlinks and not maintaining your site so it gets hacked.
And you do not want that to happen. Let's move into the myths right now, because we've got 3 or 4 myths about SEO. So these are important because it's so complicated. There are so many mixed messages out there. But the thing you need to know is that SEO is ongoing. You don't just do it once. It really is this multi-layered ongoing process, interrelated, part of this digital ecosystem, and it changes over time. So it is something that is dynamic. So, and Google's algorithms and best practices are ever-changing. And when I say ever-changing, we should put that in big, bold, moving letters, because Google changes it up all the time. And SEO is definitely not dead. I had someone the other day say, well, why are my competitors using pay-per-click? And my answer to them was probably because they don't know any better. Because pay-per-click is a very expensive way to get not as good a results as you will get same amount of money put into a good organic SEO. But the SEO does change, very much alive. It is not dead, and it is something that that anyone who wants to participate in this economy today really does need to participate in and do it well.
Not only is it not dead, it's more important than ever.
I think the important thing to remember between pay-per-click and organic SEO is as soon as you stop paying for pay-per-click, it's completely gone. All those results, completely gone. Whereas the money that you put into organic SEO is just going to build your results over time. It's not going to go away.
Pay-per-click does not work on the quality of your site, whereas SEO actually builds the quality of your site.
This guaranteed #1 ranking, this is really more of a scam, but anyone that promises you a #1 ranking, just don't believe it. Again, you might be able to rank #1 on one search term that nobody ever searches for, but what you really want to do is rank well for those people who are searching for care, real people who are searching for care.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to remember is that it's not that a #1 ranking is unachievable. It's that, no one can guarantee that. So you have to get in there, build the quality, and work toward that goal. And even if you get there one day, you may drop another day. It is this dynamic process that you're always working on.
And as your competition is always working on as well. So this is an incredibly important point, and this continues to come up with us. So SEO is not an IT service or an IT mindset. SEO is really something completely different than what an IT person would do. It doesn't take just a tech background, it takes a marketing background. And the other thing is that marketing home care, what we call marketing home care, the salesperson who goes out and makes calls, that does not translate into someone understanding the intricacies of SEO and how to make that work. So it is getting more complicated, it's getting harder, it's becoming more of a science, I guess, but a marketing science and a marketing art, as opposed to something that you give to someone to just do part-time. And the other myth is it's overnight magic. It takes strategy, it takes months, usually we say 3 to 6 months, and it really does take a long time to see results. It's not just days, but when you actually do it right, you do get lots of potential business from it. Now there's other components to how you get the business. You got to answer the phone right, and you've got to be able to follow up, and you have to have a good service. But you really do, in today's marketing world, you really do have to do a focus on search engine optimization. Just going to wrap up here with some trends that have to do with personalities. We're actually presenting at the Home Care Association of America conference this month, and about you know, some more intricate branding things, and so I won't go into that. But the main thing is that you have to be and you have to present yourself in a way that people are going to want to stay and learn about what you're doing and have an interaction with you. So that increasing social and interactive component of marketing is just absolutely crucial today. And the internet is what allows us to search for things that we want or find out things that we don't know. And so that really is the #1 place people are going. So why would you not want to have the best presence possible on that #1 place where people are going to search? This is just a recap of social, because it is so important to understand how those things are interrelated to each other, and how important it is for you to consider your website and your social media more as an integrated ecosystem as opposed to just separate things that are being done. So here's a recap. And this is basically bullet point for bullet point what you need to do. And again, each of these bullets has a huge amount of data and work and knowledge behind them. But #1 is that fully functional, organically optimized, up-to-date website that's user-friendly and mobile enabled. Now that's a mouthful, but that is in essence what you need. You have to use good targeted keywords, and again, that's keywords that have been researched, you know, are good for your area, that are bringing in customers that are working for you. So those keywords need to be used throughout your site and throughout your social media and throughout your blogging. So it's focusing on the keywords that people who are searching for your care are using. You have to blog regularly. Marissa, you had some great statistic about 2 of our clients, one who blogged regularly and one who didn't, and the one who blogged regularly, the increase in their ranking was just so much better than the ones who didn't blog, and we see that pretty standard. That using social media and updating everything, at least Facebook and Google Plus, regularly. And then the other thing that is really working is an email newsletter. Housing that newsletter on your site, optimizing it for keywords, and having it be something that people can then share and refer back to and go to when they're looking for information. And then the last point here is online reviews. Now, once you do all this, you have to analyze your results, and you have to know what to analyze. Again, you're not just looking for numbers of visitors, you're looking for those people who actually are going to buy your services. You have to continually work on testing different ways to get their engagement and to find things that are of interest to them. And then you want to drill down on what is the most important to you. Do you want them to read information? Do you want them to sign up for something you're doing? Do you want them to fill out an inquiry form? Although we do find people will prefer to pick up the phone and call you as opposed to filling out an inquiry form, but that would be another conversion. Some people do fill out inquiry forms, but I think, 95% of them pick up the phone and call you. This is the #1 reason why you really ought to pay attention to SEO. This is from Home Care Pulse. This was their this 2016 benchmarking study, and they found that 82% of the agency revenues of all the agencies that participated in this Home Care Pulse benchmarking study found that their online marketing efforts generated 82% of their revenue. Now, that in itself is enough for you to throw your hat in the ring and say, I'm going to do SEO, I'm going to pay attention to this. And are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to outsource it? A third of the companies now are outsourcing all or part of their social marketing campaigns, and that number should be growing, because as it becomes more complicated to interrelate and more complicated to understand the sophisticated algorithms that Google is using and changing, then outsourcing your search engine optimization to someone who knows home care specifically and someone who knows SEO will benefit you in the long run. Now here's our very, very busy infographic, but just to tie this back in, that you really do need to be on the web, you need to be able to be found, you need to be giving out information that will help people solve their problems or find answers to questions that they have, and you need to have a site that entices them to stay on it so that you can then get business from that site. Do either of you know a professional team that they could use to get ranked that knows the truth about SEO?
Let me think. No one whose logo's on the bottom of that slide.
We'd love to.
I think I was just going to say, I wanted to share that we get a number of clients that come to us, and they've worked with other SEO firms, and they're very relieved when they get to us, because they, one, feel like they can understand what we're explaining to them, and two, they don't feel like they have to teach us the industry in order for us to give them back what they're looking for and write relevant content and really understand the clients and the people who are looking for home care. So, I just want to add that in. We've had so many clients be so relieved once they started working with us because we really know home care and it's all we do.
I am now looking at the questions. I sort of slipped over the question and answer slide onto the contact us for more information slide. I'm getting several questions of people who came in late and want to know if we are recording this, and yes, we are recording this, and you may access it at corecube.com/events. There is a section to just fill out a quick, thing about who you are, and you can have access to not only this webinar recording, but the webinars. We've been doing webinars for years, and they're all topical and interesting and helpful, because we really do want the best for the home care industry, and we want all of our clients and all the agencies and people who participate in healthcare at home to be providing good quality services, and we want those services to be found. So I don't have any specific questions here. We have an affirmation from someone who had a mother in Texas that was having them move to where this client lives, or where the client provides their services, because they found them online. So that is a little testimonial for being found online. I have 2 minutes until the hour. Marissa, Amy, do you have anything you'd like to say? Since we have no specific questions, we must have answered everyone's question perfectly.
I just want to put the bug in your ears that working with an agency that specializes in home care and works with SEO clients all doing home care allows us to see the trends across the country and know some insider tips as to your audience and what they respond best to. So, skip all the research and join a team that actually already knows what to do.
I was going to say the other thing that, now granted this is my team so I can say this proudly, watching the work that goes into how we get our clients to rank, because sometimes there's a mystery. of why something isn't working in one part of the country when it's worked other places. And I watch my team basically go into, what all have we tried, what have we not tried, what, what's the user experience on the site, what's the competition doing. So there's all kinds of things that go into it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, making minor changes to the site. I mean, we are looking for things to work better, and so that's pretty much what we focus on, is how do we continue to move in the rankings, and how do we have that mix of things that fits together so that it is satisfying Google's desire and the other search engines' desire to provide that quality site. So, well, I am at the end of our hour. I want to thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience. You've stayed with us until the very end, and thank you for your attendance. Please send questions to us if you have any. We'll be glad to answer them offline, and call us for work on your search engine optimization, social media, blog writing. We certainly do happen to be the best in the industry. So everybody have a great rest of your day. Marissa and Amy, thank you again so much for all you do and for sharing your knowledge today.
Thank you.